Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Liz and this is Let's Get Lizical, where we do everything card making. Today is day 3 of my Christmas in July series. And today we are going to do a background using a stencil, but not in the standard way that you would use a stencil. I did do a background for this using a red, a green, and I was going to try a paste, but my paste is so old it just doesn't want to work right now. And I don't even think I might have tried using it once, but I'm really not a paste kind of girl. It's just too messy. I don't want to get into it. So instead, doing my original idea, I did finish the first background doing the coloring of the bottom and this middle layer here. So I did Lawn Fawn's chili pepper red ink for the bottom layer. For the middle layer, I used Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide ink. And then for the top layer with the smaller dots, I was going to try to use the paste. And it just wasn't working out, so I decided to trace it using my Clear Stardust Jelly Roll pen. And then that kind of like inspired me just to use all the layers in that manner. So instead of ink blending them, I just put each layer onto the background, and then I traced around the shapes and made my own like different pattern. It's kind of more bubbly this way. I saw this idea more recently on a Sasha Reed video, and it kind of inspired this technique for me today. You could use this technique with felt tip markers like I use them, your pencil crayons, you could use watercolor markers and then go over it after with the water, just kind of like help bleed the color in towards the middle. The reason I wouldn't do that with these colors in particular is that they will make mud, because red and green are complementary colors, so they'll go to like a brown or gray shade. And that's kind of why I used both the dye and the hybrid ink on my original panel, because I didn't want the colors to like mix together. If I had used two dye inks, they would have like soaked into one another and definitely made like a muddy color. Using the dye ink and then the oxide ink on top of that just helped reduce that like muddy color. It is still a little bit more neutral between them, but it's not as noticeable or as bad. But then I decided to go with the felt tip marker method instead. On my original panel, I could have also just colored in all of those circles with my Clear Stardust pen and done it that way, but I just traced the circles, and it just gives a little bit of sparkle here and there because I used the glitter, and then it's in the tiny bubbles. It's really hard to see in the video here, but I did put them there. You'll see them a little bit later. They just hit the light just a little bit. And they're more noticeable in person. Sometimes the camera just overexposes some things. But yeah, I really like the way that this background turned out, and it's bright, it's simple. You can add a bit of color to an all white background without having to overload it. You could even trace like the big circles if you wanted to ink blend the middle ones and then do the gel pen. Like you could do a mixture of all three. But for this one, we just did the tracing of the circles. But it would be fun to experiment with the 3 different ways of using it, with the ink blending, the tracing with a marker, and then the tracing again with a clear pen, and then maybe just coloring those in. But I wouldn't recommend using your alcohol markers for these just because they do bleed, and you want something that's not going to bleed out underneath the stencil. The point of the stencil is to contain the color, and it just like would not be good to do it with the alcohol markers. So again, I would recommend felt tips, pencil crayons, maybe a water-based marker if it's maybe a finer tipped one, maybe not necessarily the brush ones, but yeah. I'm using this deer from a set from Hello Bluebird, which no longer does monthly releases, and this one is no longer available, so I did link something similar below. And you just really just needed a cute deer image, and this one had like the bow and everything, so I could bring in other colors. So I could bring in that red and just kind of like coordinate with the card. I also made the deer a little bit of a warmer brown. I really like this color combination. And then used a bit of like goldish creamy color, I guess, for the antlers and the accent colors. I also stamped and heat embossed this image because, again, I've mentioned previously in my last couple of videos that it's been humid, at least around the time that I did this. It's pretty humid here today too, but it was really bad last week when I filmed these and the ink wasn't drying correctly or quick enough for me, so I ended up stamping this in VersaFine clear Nocturne ink, and then I heat embossed it with a clear embossing powder, and that way it just kind of like sealed in the color and I was able to color it. Most people don't recommend that you use alcohol markers on embossing, but I don't really like color over the lines. I color up to the lines. If it hits a line here and there, it's not a big deal. And like I don't have very like expensive markers. Like I only have a couple of my Copics left, so if the tip does get damaged, I can easily replace it on my other markers. But if I need to, I can just order a whole new marker. But I've never had a problem with any of my markers getting gummed up or ruined by doing this way. But everyone's a little different though, so I'll just say use at your own risk. But I've never had a problem with it. And for the sentiment, I'm just going to stamp sentiment onto the background. I think maybe I should have propped this up or backed it onto something just so it doesn't get lost in all the circles, but I did it in black. It's still legible, but I wish I had done it a little bit differently. Other than that, we're going to add on some clear gems. I think these ones were paper roses, which I don't think are available anymore, but I'll link something similar down in the description below. But yeah, that's pretty much our card for today, guys. I'm just gonna fiddle with the embellishments as usual for the rest of this video. So not a new technique, but something I definitely would try again. I would like to go through all my stencils just to see what I have and what would work for this technique. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and let me know if you've tried this technique or are more interested in trying this technique now. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do so because I'd love to have you here. And I also have additional content over on my Instagram and Facebook, so don't forget to follow me there as well. Turn on all of your notifications so you get notified when something new pops up. Sometimes I post a little bit more often, like this month, but generally we are definitely scheduled for Fridays. So until next time, thanks so much, guys. Bye.